Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss the 2002 TV movie of Carrie, starring Angela Bettis, Patricia Clarkson, and Raina Sofer, directed by David Carson. Now, this is my second time watching this. Let's see how this goes. We start with an interrogation of the police and Sue Snow, whom this time is played by an African American actress, as they want to discuss what happened to Carrie White, played by Angela Bettis, and I'm thinking, what kind of a name is Coretta? Which doesn't make any sense to me in this movie. Sue tells the story of 1 week before prom. It starts off with Carrie being excused from a class in high school, and as head bitch Chris Hargensen calls her a creepy religious person, and Carrie goes to the library. And this isn't the movie I remembered from the original, as the cast is different, sure, and it drags on until too long. While at gym class, the girls play baseball, with one another and pick on Carrie quite a bit as the acting is poor. But the shots are obvious TV movie shots as the girls take a shower from gym class when suddenly Carrie has her first period as the other girls come in and torment her by chanting period. While Miss Desjardins, played by Raina Sofer, comes in to help Carrie as she realizes she has telekinetic powers, and these actors don't know what fucking movie they're making, as this dialogue doesn't make much sense, and the effects look so fake it's not funny. It's tedious. The girls write on her locker, "Plug it up," while Sue doesn't like any of this shit going on, that she never once picked on Carrie as she did briefly in the original, and kind of does in this remake when I get there next time. And the kid on a bicycle shouts crazy Carrie as she makes him trip and break his arm, and we see Carrie at one point having a flashback to going to a neighbor's to discover breasts. And her mother Margaret, played by Patricia Clarkson, drags her in the house next door, and as she overreacts, she goes to a closet, and a meteor shower comes in. And I swear to God, it makes no sense whatsoever. While Margaret says to the neighbor she has breasts because she's a slut, and Margaret is rather abusive to Carrie ever since she was a little girl. Like, she drags her and makes her say things and slaps her around, and honestly, this version is one I don't like at all, as this feels very long, as there's some scenes that could be cut out, like the flashback scene I just brought up, and the scenes at the police station, because it drags quite a bit, and the director had a different version compared to Brian De Palma, as this version is unacceptable in my opinion. Carrie reads magazines while in the closet instead of praying for forgiveness, which was rather hilarious. So does Desjardins, throwing tampons at them like they did with Carrie White. And Chris talks back to Desjardins as she doesn't want to go to detention, while the others don't have any other choice, and she gets banned from prom while Sue tells her to shut up. And this is getting very boring, as this is a long movie at 2 hours and 12 minutes, and I felt myself getting bored to death. Chris gets banned from high school, and others blame Carrie for it, as one guy passes around the notes saying something nasty about Carrie, and these people are the biggest assholes in this whole movie. Like, I can't like can't they give the bullying thing a fucking rest? I mean, Jesus Christ. Father is a lawyer, like her Jesus. Chris's father is a lawyer and fights with the principal in Desjardins and decides to take them to court, while Chris talks with Sue about how much she thinks it's Carrie's fault, when really it was her own fault because Carrie didn't learn anything about having periods and becoming a woman in general, as this one felt very problematic, and the actress playing Chris pulls it off fine, but not as good as Nancy Allen, despite Nancy Allen's not a good actress in general. Sue asks her boyfriend Tommy Ross to take Carrie to prom, while Carrie will think Sue is up to something while she is trying to be nice, and Tommy asks Carrie in the library, and she is still led to believe it's a trick as she's being flattered, but can't go with Tommy but he talks her into going, and there's a lot of back and forth with the story versus the scenes at the police station, which is annoying throughout the movie. Carrie tells Margaret she got asked to the prom, and Margaret says no, as Carrie wants Margaret to sit and talk with her, and they do, and Carrie says she's going to, and that's final, and is going to start a life of her own. And she doesn't like Margaret's life, which sort of makes sense, but the acting is awful in here. Chris talks briefly with Carrie as and asks inappropriate questions about her boobs and being bloated because being stressed out while she's saying things about her life, but she can't. But she talks about Sue that way. That was a horrible scene, as it could have been cut out of the movie, in my opinion. Sue is at the same store as Carrie as she shows her how to put on a lipstick, which is another scene that could be cut out of this movie. There's a lot of scenes that could be cut out of this movie, in my opinion. Margaret tells Carrie Jesus doesn't love Carrie anymore when Jesus loves everybody. At that piece of dialogue is horrible, said by Patricia Clarkson. And Carrie's saying Jesus loves everybody, and we move on to the interrogation of Billy Nolan's friend, as he doesn't say anything until they see pictures of the three of them going to a pig farm to kill a pig, with some pictures taken by the security system witnessing Billy killing a pig, and the actor playing Billy comes off kind of slimy as the character, but unfortunately not as good as John Travolta, in my opinion. We see Mr. Hargensen, in Carrie's room, and we move on to prom night as Margaret tells Carrie to burn the dress, and they're all gonna laugh at you, and she forces her out of the room and tells her to watch her fingers, which is unlike the character, but hell, she's her mother. So I guess I can't complain about that. But what I can complain about is the special effects looking rather cheap, while moving a table with her own mind before Tommy arrives, but the special effects looked obviously bad as Tommy puts Carrie's in a limousine, which just feels romantic, but unfortunately the actors have no chemistry together, nor do they play the characters, as I don't like these actors as these characters. They arrive at prom as Tommy thinks to not be nervous, as Carrie is thinking like a character in My Fair Lady, which is a movie I haven't seen in years. And they go inside and have a nice time together, and it starts off with everybody staring at her like, what the fuck is she doing here? As a couple of girls compliment Carrie's dress because she made it herself. She looks like she likes to sew, and Desjardins thinks she looks amazing, and we learn she hated high school like Carrie, and admittedly, I did too. And I wish she talks with, and I, whatever. She talks with Tommy and tells him if he doesn't show Carrie a good time, she'll expel him, and Tommy wants to dance with Carrie while the slow songs are playing and teaches her dancing on the slow songs, which is a good practice, but the scenes at the prom slow way down. Chris and Billy set up the trap for Carrie as Tommy and Carrie are nominated for senior prom in King and Queen, and the cops learn someone else won for prom in King and Queen. But in this story, Tommy and Carrie win for prom King and Queen because one of Chris's friends switched the ballots to make it look like they won, and Carrie is very nervous to go on stage, and as Chris is nervous, but Billy tells her to pour pig's blood on Carrie, but can't as they're dancing, which does take a while, which is in Carrie's imagination. As Chris does pour it on her, and everyone was shocked at when it happened, and their faces were kind of amusing. And the bucket falls on Tommy's head, but eventually everybody laughs at Carrie for the last time as she goes into rage and uses her telekinesis and traps the doors and burns up the basketball stadium and kills everybody in there, as the scene took about 7 to 8 minutes, as it was the longest it took for the death scenes, and I thought, enough already. Sue hears some sirens and hears the school burned down and sees Carrie had something to do with it. As she calls for Carrie, and Billy and Chris hear about the whole town burning and go towards it, while Carrie destroys it as well, and Chris and Billy's truck kills them off and comes back home, and Chris and Billy's death comes off so quickly I didn't believe they were dead at this point. Carrie goes to her house and takes a bath while the dress is still on, but I get it because it was covered in blood. Like, she was so. I'll give the movie. She was just sad. Was sad. I'll give the movie that explanation. As Margaret comes in and calls her a witch and suddenly suffocates her, and Carrie breaks down the house and gives her own mother a heart attack. Here comes the unexpected twist in the movie. I remember about this movie, which happens to be Sue coming to Carrie's house to save her life and hides her in a garage as she died and takes her out of town under a different identity and takes her to Florida. And this climax didn't convince me at all. Not one fucking bit. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 2.1 out of 10. The special effects were very bad for a TV movie back in 2002, and this looks it, as the movie is the longest in the franchise, and this needed some editing right out the bat. I don't like these actors as these characters, as they were portrayed the wrong way, as the movie slows way the hell down by the 2 hour and 12 minute runtime. The filming looked so bad that I don't think I like this any better than Brian De Palma's take on the story, and I can't remember Kimberly Pierce's take on it, so I'll see it next time. So I'll be back next time with that remake of 2013 Carrie, and until then, they're all gonna laugh at you.